Nearly 300 people are confirmed dead in India in the country's worst train crash in decades. Many more bodies could still be in the wreckage after two packed passenger trains collided.
Suddenly the train tilted. I lost my balance. People started falling on each other and I was shocked and could not understand what happened.
Also tonight, animal rights activists invade the racecourse at the Epsom Derby. And
that's good to one.
After the quickest goal in FA Cup final history, Manchester City keep their hopes of the treble alive.
The ball landed perfectly for me, and I hit it quite well, and obviously that was an amazing feeling.
This is ITV News with Lucy Watson.
Good evening. More than 280 people are now known to have died in India's worst train disaster this century. The first of more than a dozen mangled carriages are starting to be moved off the tracks tonight after two passenger trains carrying more than 3,000 people between them crashed in the east of the country yesterday. Today, India's Prime Minister visited the site, committing to help all those affected. He also vowed to punish stringently anyone found guilty over the tragedy. Rachel Younger has the latest.
It is a sight so shocking that even the soldiers sent to help are struggling to take it in. The wreckage of two packed express trains lying smashed and scattered. After a collision so catastrophic, it's hard to imagine how anyone escaped unscathed. Rescuers have spent hours trying to reach the living and recover the dead. From carriages flipped over to the skies and crushed one beneath the other. The chaos on board as the disaster unfolded, described by one passenger who made it out.
As I stepped out of the toilet, suddenly the train tilted. I lost my balance. People started falling on each other and I was shocked and could not understand what happened.
The few carriages that escaped intact tell part of the story. Passengers preparing for the 20 hours still ahead of them by unpacking food and kicking off shoes when the Coromandel Express to Chennai suddenly derailed. Moments later, it was hit by the Howrah Express travelling in the opposite direction. People running from nearby villages to join a frantic rescue attempt overnight. Those pulled from the wreckage, among over 850 people injured in the crash.
I'm deeply distressed by this extremely tragic train accident. I have to thank the local people, the local teams and others who have worked overnight to save people from the wreckage.
The region's hospitals are now so full that some of the injured wait in hallways. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi today visiting survivors, promising a full investigation. But the modernisation of India's huge railway network has long been promised. It will come too late for the hundreds of dead whose possessions still litter the tracks. Rachel Younger, ITV News.
Two animal rights protesters were tackled to the ground and arrested as they stormed the racetrack at today's Epsom Derby. Only one made it onto the course itself, which was surrounded by heavy security after threats to disrupt the race. Police say a total of 31 people have been detained. From Epsom, Sangeeta Lal reports.
It was their aim to cause disruption, but this was never part of the plan. Just after the race had started, with horses less than a minute away, officers cleared the track just in time. Other protesters had tried before the race to stop it going ahead or delay the start time. One thing they said they wouldn't do, though, was go onto the track during the race.
All we wanted to do was to maybe show the media that we are people who stand up for these horses.
Potentially putting yourself, the animal and police officers at risk.
We weren't going to go on the racetrack while there were horses there.
What were you planning?
To disrupt the race before it started.
something police were aware of, on high alert for any disruption. For some who saw the protesters, it was an unwanted distraction during their day at the races.
The danger of him getting hurt, the jockeys, the horses, it just ruins it for everybody. I know that's their intention, but it's just so dangerous.
Did you see the protester? You saw him? It was awful. It was awful because you could feel the horses coming around the track.
Yeah, I don't think they should be here. I think it's doing more harm than good to the horses, to be honest.
The track has spent an extra £150,000 on security measures this year, something so many people here have told me they have noticed, not only with how they've been able to enjoy their day, but knowing there could be protesters among the crowd who have vowed to disrupt the race.
We had a High Court injunction in place against anyone who disrupts any part of the race or the running of the day, or anyone who attempts to get on the course before or during the race. Everyone obviously saw that happened during the live coverage, so we will now be enforcing that injunction against the individual concerned.
Despite attempts to disrupt the race, it went on, with Auguste Rodin, ridden by Ryan Moore, winning the Derby. It meant trainer Aidan O'Brien extended his record to 9 wins.
244 races have now taken place here, but today ended with 31 protesters being arrested in total. 12 of them from these grounds, but many from elsewhere in places like Mitcham and Byfleet. And actually 8 were arrested, stopped in their cars before they were able to arrive here this morning. They're still being questioned by police. On a day where organisers expected some disruption, but they didn't expect for protesters to go onto the tracks as horses were racing towards them.
Sangeeta Lal in Epsom, thank you. And those travelling to and from Epsom today were among travellers around the country who had to deal with the effects of yet another rail strike. Today it was train drivers on the picket lines, while our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick joins me now. Tom, the unions and the government blame each other. The strikes keep happening. Is there any hope of a solution?
It doesn't look likely any time soon. This is the 3rd day of strikes on the railways this week. Yesterday, we saw many rail workers with the RMT union walking out, and today it was ASLEF train drivers on picket lines again. Only about half of normal trains have been running, and ministers have accused the unions of targeting their action to disrupt people going to events like the Epsom Derby and the FA Cup final. The ASLEF union leader has insisted that the timing has not been deliberate, and he warned today that to try to win the dispute, they are prepared to continue with their strikes, perhaps for years, beyond the 12 months they've been going already.
We haven't seen the Transport Minister since before Christmas. Since the non-deal, we've had no contact with the management side. We can go back into our traditional bargaining structures if that's what they want. Well, that will make the process more prolonged and drag it out even further. So at this moment in time, I think the ball is in the court of the other side to contact us and convince us, after 2 acts of deceit, that they actually wanted to negotiate in good faith.
Well, the government say that they have already facilitated a fair and reasonable pay offer, and union leaders should put it to members. That pay offer was a 4% pay rise backdated to last year, with a further 4% for this year, but conditional on some changes to ways of working. Union bosses with ASLEF have rejected it. It doesn't sound like they're going to get an improved offer soon. No further dates for rail strikes have yet been announced, but that doesn't mean that this is the end of the disputes and the disruption.
We shall see, Tom. Thank you very much indeed. Elsewhere tonight, a woman in her 70s has died after being attacked by a dog in Warwickshire. A man and a woman have been arrested on suspicion of owning a banned breed and for having a dog dangerously out of control. The animal has since been seized. One of the UK's most wanted criminals, who's been on the run for 5 years, has been jailed. Richard Wakeling was arrested in Thailand and extradited to the UK. The 55-year-old has been jailed for 11 years for trying to import £8 million worth of amphetamines. And British Vogue's editor-in-chief, Edward Enninful, is stepping down from the role after 6 years. The 51-year-old will stay on as an advisor to the magazine and help choose his successor. The mother of the former ITV presenter Caroline Flack has said Philip Schofield has been through enough after he was dropped by the broadcaster for lying about an inappropriate relationship. Christine Flack said ITV had learned nothing from her daughter's death and that the television industry too often treats on-screen talent as commodities. ITV says it takes its responsibilities around duty of care seriously. Calum Wilkinson has more.
Facing prosecution for assault, TV presenter Caroline Flack killed herself 3 years ago. A coroner said she did so because she feared the publicity of her case. And after Philip Schofield said relentless coverage of his private life has left him well aware of how she felt, Ms Flack's mother said this of ITV and the wider television industry.
They haven't learnt anything. They haven't. They treat them as commodities. And I know it's a lovely job and I know they earn money, but also the television stations that earn money from them. But they're not commodities, they're people and they're employed. And if my employee didn't take care of me, there'd be all hell to pay.
Mr Schofield compared his treatment with that of Caroline Flack in an interview with the BBC this week.
How much do you want a man to take? And are you truly only happy when he's dead? And this is how Caroline Flack felt. And it didn't stop.
In a statement, the broadcaster said ITV takes its responsibilities around duty of care seriously and has robust and well-established processes in place to support the mental and physical health of employees and all those we work with. Its chief executive has written to Parliament's Culture, Media and Sport Committee about the Schofield situation, and she will appear before its members to answer questions on June the 14th. Calum Wilkinson, ITV News.
The FA Cup final made history today with the fastest goal ever. Just 13 seconds after kick-off, Manchester City went 1-up against local rivals Manchester United with a wonder goal. There were more goals and, of course, drama over a penalty. Chris Scudder has all the action and the celebrations.
Never before had Manchester's two giants contested the cup final, and no rail strike would stop the old rivals battling their way south. 100 years on from the first Wembley final, another white horse to control the crowds. Just as there had been in 1923, when vast numbers overwhelmed the old Wembley and a famous white horse had to clear crowds from the pitch. Then, straight from kick-off, an extraordinary moment. After 100 years of golden cup final moments, within 13 seconds, City scored.
That's Gundogan!
The fastest goal in FA Cup final history. Gundogan had bent it like you-know-who, and Beckham, the old United golden boy, was devastated. Then high drama, unintentional handball by Jack Grealish. Penalty to United.
It's 1-1.
Fernandes made it 1-1.
Manchester United.
But United didn't heed the warning from Gundogan, and it was fatal.
And he's done it again.
It was nothing like as clean a strike as the Germans' first-minute goal, but David De Gea couldn't keep it out. Some might say the United keeper should have done much better. There was a frantic finish when United almost scored an equaliser, but City kept them out. And that was that, the league and cup double complete, set up by Gundogan's record strike.
The ball landed perfectly for me, and I hit it quite well, and obviously that was an amazing feeling.
But City are not done yet. What they really want now is the Champions League. Beat Inter Milan in Istanbul next Saturday, and the treble, only ever done before by United, will be theirs. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And that's all from us for now. I'll be back a little later on at 10 o'clock. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye for now.
Today we'll see warmer temperatures moving in from the east, especially around tea time. Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello there, good evening to you. Hope you've had a lovely day. Our weather staying fine and settled over the coming few days. High pressure in charge, sunny for most and feeling warm in that sunshine as well. We've got a fine evening to come, but as soon as the sun goes down, the air will turn chilly. We hold on to largely clear skies, although low cloud pulling in off the North Sea. Temperatures tonight will be cold enough for a touch of frost across parts of northern England and Scotland. So quite a cool start to Sunday morning. But like today, any low cloud will burn back pretty quickly. It is once again going to be a stunning day. Plenty of sunshine. Bit of fair weather cloud just drifting in at times. West is best for the temperatures tomorrow. 21, 23 degrees Celsius. That's 73 in Fahrenheit. Cooler along North Sea coast. And here's confirmation of a fine week to come next week as well. Bye-bye for now.
Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.